Hello everyone, welcome back to our channel Trailhead Ranger NJ. And in this video, we are going to cover some of the interview questions which has been asked in the interview by the Infosys. And this interview is held for the candidate which is having 4+ year of experience. So you can refer this video if you are giving your interview for 4+ year of experience, or even if one of your friends are giving interview, so you can refer this video. So let's get started. Our first question was that in which domain you have been working. So you can answer this based on the projects you have been working on. And for me, so in this, for me, I am referring to this as the candidate who has given the interview, because I prepared the slides accordingly only. But these questions have been handed out to me to by a candidate. And even if you have some questions or some interview tips like that, you can let me know. You can let me know, and I would be glad to make a video out of it to help out the other candidates. So yes, so the candidate said that they have been worked upon on electrical vehicle, telecommunication, oil and industries, health and pharmacy based projects. So you can mention whatever domain you have been worked upon. It could be anything study related or any other project, so you can let them know. So let's move on. Second question was, do the candidate have an experience in LWC? So if you do not have an experience, you can say that you are not having an experience in LWC. But I guess if you are having an experience of 4 years, you would be having an experience in LWC. So then they have asked about the life cycle hooks in LWC. So you can explain them about the constructor, connected callback, rendered callback. They could even ask about this life cycle hooks between the parent and child component, or even they can ask you to add the disconnected callback or the error callback. So all of that has been covered as part of the separate video already in detail. So you can refer that. I'll be pasting the link of that video in the description box. So you can refer that. Now let's move on. Next question was that how do we communicate between two components? So to communicate data from parent to child, we utilize the @API decorator. But if we need to communicate the data from child to parent, we utilize the functionality of the custom event. Now next question, what if there are two unrelated components? So we can utilize LMS or the PubSub model. So LMS refers to the lightning message service. So if you have worked on, they could ask you more detail on this, or maybe you can just let them know just right after this question, so it could show them that yes, you do have knowledge on this topic. And if not, you can just mention that two unrelated component can have communication using the LMS or the PubSub model. Now the next question was that can you write simple LWC when message this variable is coming from parent to child component? So if you know, you can do this very simple. Otherwise I have written a basic logic here. So in parent component HTML, we will be calling the child component like this, and here is our message variable in the parent component, which is using for passing the data. And this message component property is declared inside the JS of parent component, and then in the child component this variable will be initialized with the API decorator, so that it is exposed to the parent component and it can the pass data. So if you will print out this variable here in child component, now it will be having the value of this hello world. So now let's move on. Can you please write down the query for all the accounts having no contacts? So the query will go like this: select ID from account where ID not in, select account ID from contacts. So account ID is the field of account in the contacts. So this is the interrelationship query. So that's how you can write it. And maybe they could ask, can you please write down the query for all the accounts having contacts only? So this not variable, not should not be there, not keyword. So you can write it like this, select ID from account where ID in, select account ID from contacts. Now next question is, what are the scenarios where you have used LWC in your projects. So this is also you can ask, you can answer based on the work you have been done. It could be very complex or could be very easy, but it is better to answer based on your experience, so that they can have the idea what you have been worked upon, and they can ask questions accordingly. So the candidate has said that they have used LWC in their projects to create model pop-ups for different functionalities, and even table to display the number of records and more. So the next question now, if the interviewer asked that if I have requirement that whenever I click a button, it should open a case create page. So this is very simple. This you can achieve. On the button there will be a handler, like click handler. On click there will be a event pass. So that handler in the JS you can receive, and in that you can utilize the navigation mixin. And in the navigation mixin we have some properties like the type, it should be standard object page, and then the object API name we can give it as the case, and action name we can give it as new, so that whenever we will click on that button, it will open up the page of the case to create a new record. So yes, let's move on. Now next question is, what are some of the best practices for LWC? So best practices for LWC include that we should write the code in such manner so that we can break down our application into small reusable components, and each responsible for a single functionality. We should use clear and consistent naming for components, methods, variables, and the CSS classes, so that the code readability will be improved. We should minimize server calls and cache data whenever possible to reduce latency and improve user experience, and implement try and catch block so that it could provide user friendly error messages to enhance the user experience. Now next question, what are the best practices for Apex? So we have already covered a video on this as well, so I will be pasting the link of that too in the description box. You can refer that so that you will be able to answer this question in much more detail, but I'll let you know how you can answer it very briefly. That Apex class should be bulkified. It should be written for one trigger per object. It should not use DML or SQL inside for loop, and it should not have any of the hard coded value in the class. So yes, now next question. The next question they have asked that, do you know the difference between lightning component and the lightning web component? So first of all, lightning component is indicate as the framework which consists of the Aura component and the lightning web component, and the modules they utilize in which in that they differ, that is the Aura component and lightning web component differ from each other. So lightning web component is the component which we use, where we use the most modern web structure such as the ES6 module of the JS. So now let's go next. Next question they have asked that, can we call the lightning component inside LWC or LWC inside lightning component? So in this way, lightning component also refers as the Aura component. So what they have meant is that, can we call the Aura component inside of the LWC or LWC inside of the lightning component? So we can call the LWC inside of the lightning component or the Aura component, but the vice versa is not possible. We cannot call the Aura component inside of the LWC. Next question we have that, what are the trigger frameworks you have worked on? The candidate has answered that the trigger and its login in separate handler class. It is its logic in separate handler class. So if you know, the best practice include, and I have covered that in my real-time scenarios related to the Apex trigger series as well, that whenever we are writing a trigger, we should write the trigger in, we should create a trigger, and then its complete logic should be in a separate handler class. So that's the framework we are following. That you can say, and if your projects or if your experience allowed you to tell that they have followed another framework, you can let them know that framework as well. Next question. So this is one of the framework. Nowadays we have other framework also. So this, as I told you, that you can answer this based on your experience and project. Currently I am not aware and I have not worked on any of the framework, any of the different framework related to the trigger. So you can answer this based on your experience. Even you can let me know in the comment section as well, because we all are learning together, so it will be helpful for me as well as the other candidates. Now next question, that what is the difference between custom setting and custom metadata? So custom setting is not deployable, but custom metadata are, and custom setting can be used when we want it to create to be user specific, but custom metadata cannot be made user specific, and custom metadata can be saved in record manner but not custom setting. So these are the major differences between the custom setting and custom metadata. Now next question is, what is that custom setting which is user specific? So custom setting is of two types, that is list and hierarchical custom setting. So hierarchical custom setting is specific to the user, but list custom setting is not. Next question is, Apex class runs in which mode by default, with sharing or without sharing? So we know that class runs in without sharing mode by default, and what does it exactly mean? That it allows class to execute with elevated privileges, ignoring the current user's record level security settings and sharing rules. As a result, class can access all the data regardless of the user's permission. Okay, next question was on the follow-up on that, that if that's the case, why do we still feel the need to give without sharing keyword to class sometimes? So there are multiple reasons. First of all, to ensure that no one accidentally adds with sharing keyword later to an Apex class, because in a project you know that multiple developers works at a time. So there could be a time that one developer does not know the whole flow or whole thing going on in a project, and he made that one change which could totally disrupt the flow. Second reason could be that to override with sharing keyword when called from another class. This is the most important one. Suppose we are having a parent class having a keyword with sharing, and in the child class we are not having any keyword mentioned. So by default it is without sharing, but as it is a child of with sharing keyword class, it will inherit those access and it will run in with sharing mode. So to ensure that it does not run with sharing mode ever, we need to specify the without sharing keyword to that class sometimes. Okay, so next question, what are the ways to make a field is required? So there are multiple ways we can make a field required. First of all, while creating a field on the custom object, you have that option, required checkbox, you can check that. Then on the page layout for each field we get that option to make the field required as well. Then using validation rule we can achieve this functionality, and similarly we can create a trigger as well similar to the validation rule to prevent deletion and throw error, which will make that field required, which will not allow the user to create record without making that particular record. Now next question is, what are the best practices for test classes? So test classes should always be annotated with @istest. Then all test methods should also be annotated with istest. Then we should utilize test.startTest and test.stopTest when calling methods from the original class, so that to refresh the governor limits. And we should always utilize @testSetup annotation to define the test data in test class, so that the test data which is being used in multiple test methods in the same class, it does not need to be rewritten in each and every method. we can have it on the test setup annotation, and we can utilize it from there. And we should always cover all the positive and negative scenario. Okay, then next question is how to cover positive and negative scenarios. So in test classes, we can utilize system.sr to check both scenarios. So suppose we have an example that we are based on some condition, we are inserting an account. So based on condition, we are inserting an account. In the test class, we can check for the positive scenario, that if that condition is satisfied, we can check for the size of the list which is fetched from the database, that yes, some of the account has been created. But for the negative scenario, we can check that if the condition is not satisfied, then no new account should be created. So these things we can check, and that's how we can cover both the positive and negative scenarios. Then we have next question, that if we want to call an apex class or method from LWC, then how should we do it? We should always have our apex method annotated with the @aura enabled cacheable equals to true, which will expose our apex method to the LWC. So that's how we can call our apex class or method from the LWC. Then next, if the method is not having cacheable equals to true, then can we not call it? We can also call it then when it is only annotated with the @aura enabled, but only using apex imperative approach, but not using the wire method. And also to notice or to note that apex method should always be annotated with the aura enabled. Cacheable equals to true is optionable, but @aura enabled is mandatory to call it from LWC. Then we have next question is what are the types of flows. So we are having 5 types of flows: record triggered, screen flow, platform event flow, schedule trigger flow, and auto launched flow. Then next question, can we call one flow from another flow? Yes, we can. There is a subflow element in the flows using which we can call the other flow. So what we need to do, we suppose we are having a child flow which we want to call in a parent flow. So that child flow should be designed and activated. Then in the subflow element, then we can use the subflow element in our parent flow, and in that subflow element we can reference our child flow, but it will only be referenced when it is activated. Okay, so next question is which type of flow we can call from other flow. So as we are having total of 5 type of flows, so not all flows can be called from other flows. We majorly we can call the auto launched flows are the primary type of flows which can be called from the other flows using the subflow element, because these flows operate without user interaction and are designed to run in the background. Because suppose if you are using screen flow, then also it does require user interaction, and if you are using record trigger flow, it also does require a user interaction in case or in sense to have the record triggered in some manner to update a field or to create it or in any other way. So next question, so if we are having a requirement to send email, then which flow we should use? So in that case, we should use record trigger flow or schedule flow or even screen flow. So again, it is totally based on our requirement, that on which trigger criteria we want to send out the email. Either it is on record trigger, that this field is updated. Suppose there is a checkbox send email. Whenever that is updated, then only we want to send out the email. Then we can use the record trigger flow. Otherwise, schedule flow, we can schedule it weekly, monthly, daily. So that's when we can use the schedule flow or screen flow. There might be some inputs we need from the user, then only we can send out the email. So we can utilize the screen flow at that point. Now next, in record trigger type flow, we have 2 types. So which type to use? So in record trigger type, we have 2 types, that is action and related records and fast field updates. So to send out the email, we should use action and related records instead of the fast field updates. Next question is, what's the use of the fast field update in record triggered flow? So it updates the field of record which trigger the record as its name suggests. So that's the use of it in the record triggered flow. Now I guess we have reached the last question of our this interview, that is, have you worked on integration? So yes, and if you did work on integration, you can explain the scenario based on your project or experience, and if you have not, you can just answer this question as no. So that was all about this video, and it has total of 30 question. I hope you have get some idea, and these are some real question which has been asked in an interview of Infosys for the 4+ year of experience candidate. And if you want to help me out like this candidate, you can send me out questions uh, based on the interview, or a question from interview. You can let me know which company it was from. You can let me know what year of experience they have required and the questions they have asked. There are other contact details mentioned on the video. So if you like it, please like the video, subscribe the channel, and let me know in the comment section if you have any doubt, or if you want me to change my approach in any manner. You can let me know. And thank you. Stay tuned.